student's prayer, he has broken his connection with Allah.
With Allah.
And when you do that, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, Al-ahd alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah, faman tarakahu faqad kafar. The bond between us and the believers is salah. Whoever abandons it has become a disbeliever.
A disbeliever.
It is so severe. It's disbelief. You've left Islam. If you have abandoned prayer, then you're not a Muslim. You may say you are a Muslim. Yes, I'm a Muslim, I believe, and all this stuff.
Exactly.
But if you have abandoned the prayer, that is your open statement. As they say, actions speak louder than words. Your words are, yes, I'm a Muslim, but the actions say, I'm not a Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you have left Islam when you did that. So prayer is essential. If a person has abandoned it, they have left Islam. So what a person needs to do, if you realize that you have left Islam because of this, you need to go and make your shahada over again and come back into Islam. Because Islam is not something inherited. Meaning my parents were Muslim, so I'm Muslim.
Exactly, I have a Muslim name, I come from a Muslim family, but you don't even practice, you don't pray.
So then you're in fact not really a Muslim. A true Muslim, a real Muslim, is one who worships God. That is a day, a week, month, his or her whole life is organized around the worship of God, you know, and that starts with the salah. That's the most primary act of worship of God. So we advise those who have abandoned their prayer, who are not praying, that they need to reestablish this prayer, make this connection back with God. So you do not die in this state, because to die in that state is to have lost everything that this life was all about.
But doctor, when people, like what you say is to advise, when people advise them and still they just refuse to do it, to pray, and everybody knows that you are not praying, even your wife, your children, everybody knows you are not doing it. When that person dies again, what does Islam say about that person?
Well, actually,
what should Muslims do about that person when everybody knows that you've left completely Islam? You don't practice it, you don't pray, your wife knows, your wife has been talking to your children, and sometimes you do say that, or the other way around, your wife is doing the same thing, and everybody is talking, and you are just refusing to do it.
Well, you know, actually, a number of scholars, they hold that in such a case, actually, when that person has abandoned prayer, he refuses to pray. He says, I don't need to pray. There's no necessity for me to pray. At that time, his marriage becomes invalid.
That's right.
You know,
if one of the partners is doing it, and the person is persistently telling you, and you are refusing to do it.
In that case, that is an automatic annulment of your marriage. You're no longer married. According to Islamic law, a number of scholars, especially those in Saudi Arabia, etc., who hold the position that once you abandon that salah, then you become a disbeliever. As the Prophet ﷺ has said, your marriage is invalidated. In fact, you cannot inherit. They're not even supposed to be buried in the grave. You know?
Yeah, I heard that.
Other scholars, they say, well, okay, if the person says, no, I believe in everything, but I'm just lazy, you know, I do plan to pray, and okay, so we said, okay, there's still some belief there that they're only not praying out of laziness or negligence and so on and so, but where the person says, I don't believe that prayer is required of me, then that person is a disbeliever, 100%.
So the person's partner, the wife, if it's the man who's like that, the wife has a right to just ask for her divorce. Or if
you know, it's automatic.
Yeah.
It is automatic.
Rather
I mean, she
for you
goes to the courts.
there.
Yeah, the marriage is over. If his wife is like that, his marriage is over, because as a Muslim, we have to be married to a believer. Either if it's a Christian, we're even allowed to marry a Christian. You know, a Muslim man can marry a Christian woman. But a Muslim man cannot marry a disbeliever. What if a woman says, I don't believe in God? He can't marry her. You know, even though her name is Fatima.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You know,
say that
you can't marry her.
Yeah.
It's not allowed Islamically. Technically, that is the technical circumstance. I mean, what people do in their day-to-day lives, of course, they do anything. But what the law actually says is that this is not a marriage anymore. That person has left Islam, your marriage is over. the marriage is finished. That person needs to be taken to the local scholars to be sat down with and advised and so on. So brother, listen, otherwise you're finished. Your family is destroyed. Your marriage is over. You have to come back to Islam.
But if she doesn't want to leave, she still wants to stay there, because there are cases that you hear and that you see. Some will not leave. They will say, oh, I'm trying to talk to him. He might change. And they will stay there until the husband dies.
In the end, that's between her and Allah. In the end, that's between. But in terms of the Sharia and what the scholars would advise her is that, no, such a person is better you leave him. Better you leave him. You know, Allah will provide for you, because this man is not halal for you anymore. He's not halal. He's not a Muslim.
Some don't know that. It's a problem, definitely. Knowing what Islam says, this is what Islam says, you really have to do it. But to be persistent, to stay there and say, let me try, probably he might change until the person dies. He's not even supposed to be buried in the graveyard, you said.
In the Muslim graveyard, yes.
Muslim graveyard.
Yeah. I mean, that is the ruling of scholars.
There are some areas sometimes when the imam is really strict and knows that, yes, this person has not been praying. Everybody knows that. When the person dies, they will leave that area and then go to another area where they don't know him and say, yeah, let's do it there. So what is Islam's position on that also?
Well, you know, of course,
where the imam doesn't even know.
If he doesn't know, then he can only judge by what is in front of him. So he does. I mean, it's not really required of an imam every time a dead body is brought to ask, was he praying? You know, it's not. He assumes that that person who died is a Muslim. But if he knows full well this person is not a Muslim, then to pray Salatul Janazah, no, there's no just Salatul Janazah for him if he wasn't a Muslim. He shouldn't be buried in the graveyard of the Muslims.
It's very difficult to see a situation like that, where they will say, no, don't bury him here. Because sometimes...
Well, you know, of course, custom and tradition, you know, things become very difficult for people to handle. But, you know, this is the realities, you know, that Muslims should realize how serious this matter is. This abandoning of prayer is not something light and simple that we can just say, oh, no big deal. So all we can say is, you know, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, you know, forgive those who have in ignorance, you know, been negligent in this matter, and we need to be